Growing a Healthy Child, where we help busy parents grow healthy kids with less stress and more joy. Hey, everybody, this is Meryl.
And this is Carrie.
And this is Growing a Healthy Child podcast. Today we have a great guest, but before I introduce her, before she introduces herself even, we get these questions that come up, right? Now, one thing is I've been a mom and a nurse for like 30 years, mom for longer than 30 years. And I'm always looking for the best way to make sure that my patients and my children, not necessarily in that order, are successful and they're able to maximize those successes and they're able to overcome the challenges that they have in a day and actually minimize the challenges that they have to face. The question becomes, how do you do that consistently and with any regularity and sort of predictability? So that's our mystery for today. Mm-hmm. Welcome to Growing a Healthy Child. It's the podcast that helps busy parents grow healthy children with less stress and more joy. Like I said, my name is Meryl Fury. I am a registered nurse and I'm president and CEO of Plant-Based Nutrition Movement, which is a 501c3 nonprofit located somewhere around Chicago.
And my name is Carrie Bruno. I'm a pharmacist, a health coach, and a board member for Plant-Based Nutrition Movement. And our mission is to help you busy working parents raise healthy kids. And for us, that starts with the delicious food, and that helps grow and nourish minds and bodies. And we have a commitment that your family thrives, and that starts now.
Okay, so picture this. Just imagine that you already know that your child is sensitive to sugar. Mm-hmm. You give it to them. It takes about 20 minutes. It's in their bloodstream, and suddenly they are off and running, bouncing off the walls. They're yelling, they're throwing stuff. Sometimes it might even be that they're sensitive to dyes, or they're sensitive to other additives, preservatives, things that you don't even know what it is, but you know that they get triggered if they eat certain types of food. There you are, you're trying to figure out, how do you keep your beloved screaming meanie settled just so that you can get your basics done. Make sure dinner's handled, make sure they get off to bed, make sure that they, sleep a good night's sleep and they're ready to go the next day. I know that you're trying to give as much nutritious food as possible. Healthy food is a prerequisite, but you almost feel sabotaged sometimes when they go to school, the teacher may be giving them treats, or the school environment is built in a way that does not support the type of eating that you want to provide for your child. So that's kind of the stuff we're talking about today.
Mm-hmm. And so our guest today is Brittany Jaroudi. She is a former art teacher, I believe, in the Pittsburgh area. And she's also a recipe creator with the popular YouTube channel called the Jaroudi Family. And she's going to be doing a cooking demo for us today. She will give us the behind the scenes look and some ways that we can maybe transform the school food environment.
And the recipe?
And the recipe is chocolate chip cookies.
Nobody argues with chocolate chip cookies in my house.
Everybody will love them.
Great. Hey, Brittany.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, we're so glad you're here. This has been a long time coming. It was a little tiny bit of a challenge to get our schedules to match up. And we're so glad that we finally worked it out, right? We finally worked it out. So Brittany has this recipe demo she's going to do, but we're also going to be asking her a lot of questions and getting her observations, her perspective as a recipe creator and as a school teacher, because that's a great combination to come together when we're talking about kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a question right off the bat. Let's say you're a parent and you have kids and you want to provide a healthy meal, but and your work schedule is tight. Maybe you're gone 8, 9, 10 hours a day at a minimum. How does that show up for the kids in school? Do you see challenges?
Definitely.
The kids' nutrition in school? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, parents are so overworked and we're all stretched so thin that I found that the students that really thrived overall in all aspects of their lives, food and otherwise, were really parents that were involved. Kids really struggled when parents were not as active. And so you see that across the board, from homemade lunches to things that maybe they stopped by a gas station and grabbed on the way to school. It definitely shows up, overall across grades to, what they're eating.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really a challenge when parents are like stretched that thin and they're racing and maybe they've got a lot of other things going on and don't get to prepare a healthy meal for the child. And then it's like, okay, I got to get something to fill this little person's belly,
Right.
and they wind up stopping in a convenience store or the gas station, like you said. That can be really challenging.
Or fast food. I mean, fast food was huge, seeing them come in with different meals that they brought for breakfast and lunch.
Yeah. The school that you were in, was it a school that was benefiting from the National School Lunch Program, the free and reduced meals?
Yeah, so I've taught at 2 different schools throughout my career. The first school that I taught with was really close to downtown Pittsburgh, was a city school, and they definitely benefited from that. When I left that school, I went to actually a cyber school, so every student was at home. So it's very vastly different, and it's interesting to see kind of the differences between the two, of students bringing in lunches or getting lunches there versus having access to their own kitchen.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah.
So how much influence as a teacher do you have in like the school food environment, whether that be this, the school lunch program is pretty set, but for like classroom snacks or activities and rewards, how much of a role do you play in that?
I think it's a huge role, and that's between, what your coworkers see you eat to the kids see you eat. Every time I packed lunch, I made sure it was a variety of color. I mean, that's what I was doing anyway, but making things look interesting. And then little ones always ask questions, they're curious. And then specifically for when you can do things to share with your classroom, I always highlighted that these were like allergy friendly, different ways, and students were definitely more engaged because I feel like allergies are so prevalent in our schools now. And so they understood like dairy free and different things like that. So that was a unique way of going about it, but really a way to kind of start the conversation. And even coworkers are curious, like, oh, you're not having, the pizza that we all ordered for lunch, why? And so it can be a really great place to spark that important conversation of why you're doing this.
Yeah. So among your coworkers, I mean, that's always maybe not a fear, but a little bit of a concern for people. What are people going to say if I don't eat the pizza or I don't eat the Popeyes chicken thing? How did you handle those sorts of situations? Did you ever run into those where people just sort of
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Sometimes people are like, questioning, like, why aren't you showing up at or why are you bringing this to the holiday party? And, I always just made sure it's similar to like when you go to a family event and you might be the only one eating plant-based. You just show up with enough to kind of share. And then people are curious and generally want to try it. And it definitely sparks some conversation of why I'm doing this, why it's important to me. And also I find when I started teaching, it was kind of before I was whole food plant-based, right at the beginning. And then all of my coworkers got to see with their eyes, kind of like, oh my gosh, look how different she's looking. And so that also was a really great spark too of bringing it up, of kind of why.
Nice.
Yeah.
Can you tell us like just the really quick version of what happened? Why did you change the way you eat? Or and what were you doing before you changed? How did it start?
So right when I graduated grad school and got my first teaching job, at that time I was about 70 pounds heavier than I am now. And I'm very short. I met both these ladies in person, so they can attest that I'm on the short side.
Yeah, she's petite.
So being 70 pounds heavier made me morbidly obese. And I also was having trouble with high blood pressure and high cholesterol and just not feeling well. along with family history of some really not fun stuff. And so it was soon after, I started my first job teaching, and I just, being a teacher requires you to have a lot of you have to have a lot of stamina to go. And I found myself exhausted at the end of the days, not feeling well, just overall not being great. And so when I found Whole Food Plant-Based, I changed my lifestyle and got healthy, and just noticed that I had so much more energy. I was able to really, the days didn't seem as long as they were. I was able to, enjoy and then still be able to go and do things after work, which was not the case before.
Yeah. I mean, I knew early on that I did not want to ever be a school teacher, but I give you guys credit. We just did some cooking classes at a local Boys and Girls Club, and we were only there for maybe like 3 hours, but it was like we were wiped when we were done.
Yeah.
So I can't even imagine doing that for 8 hours a day, every single day. Like that's amazing that you were able to make that much of a transformation, and now you're able to, do stuff afterwards and have more energy. That's great.
Well, would you like to start doing your cooking demo?
It's a really quick recipe, and I love this chocolate chip cookie because everyone loves chocolate chip cookies, but it's so healthy and you can feel really good about giving this one to your littles, and it comes together really fast. It only takes about 15 minutes to bake. We're going to dump everything into a food processor. So also if you're busy, this is great. And we're going to use, the main ingredient's going to be beans, which kind of sounds odd. Don't tell your kids necessarily do this part without them seeing, but they're chickpeas, and chickpeas naturally have like a little bit more of a peanut buttery flavor, and so mixing this with some peanut butter or nut butter or even seed butter really hides any of the bean flavor. So I love this. It's a 15-ounce can, and we just dump it in with the liquid included, so there's no measuring, which is great. So I usually have everything on hand whenever I want to make this.
Certainly easier to come by, right?
You're just dumping it in. Yeah, super easy. That's the main ingredient. And then I have 1 cup of oat flour, which is just rolled oats grounded down to a flour. You can also use any other flour if you want in replace, but we always have oats on hand. That's made of it. And then I have 1/4 cup of a peanut butter, and you can use any kind of seed butter or a different kind of nut butter, depending on if people have allergies. Really fun. So peanut butter makes it taste the most like traditional chocolate chip cookies. And so I have a teaspoon of baking powder and 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda.
Okay.
And that would do it.
That would do it.
Also, tahini also works great in this too. So if you ever in a pinch too, you can also, might not think of that. You think of that with hummus generally, but it works great for this one.
Okay.
To sweeten this, I have 5 pitted dates. Now, you can sweeten this however sweet you want to do it. I always tell people that I have been off refined sugar for a very long time, so things are naturally a little bit sweeter. But if you want it to be, if you taste the batter and you're like, I wish it was a little sweeter, just add a couple more dates. It's not going to make or break the recipe. So 5 pitted, and I use medjool dates that are soft. If you have really dry dates, you can just soak them in some hot water for a couple minutes, drain off the water, and use it that way. Depending on your grocery store where you're getting them from, they can be better than others. And I just took out all the pits of those. And then I just have a little bit of vanilla extract or vanilla powder. It's a teaspoon of vanilla extract if you're doing that. And then we do have some dark chocolate chips, but we're going to blend this first and then do the dark chocolate chips. It comes together, that only took a couple seconds. It comes together nice, and like you want it, all the beans to not be there and broken up. You want the dates to be incorporated. So once it's nice and smooth, I like to go ahead and add our dark chocolate chips to this. And you can add as many dark chocolate chips as you want. I just put dark chocolate chips in the recipe. Some people like a lot, some people like a little. I usually do about 2 handfuls.
And then do you put chocolate chips in the batter, and then do you put any on top of the cookies before you bake?
You can. I generally, when I'm making it just for ourselves, we'll just add them in here, and then there's a couple that kind of peek up when you go to scoop them out. But if you want to be extra chocolatey, you can add them on top.
I think there's something to be said for that.
Yeah. So then our batter's ready to go. It makes a great cookie batter. Now I will say that when you go to make these in the oven, there are two ways to go about it. There's the rustic style where you're just scooping it out and it looks like a homemade cookie, but you can be a little bit fancier. I'm going to share with you guys a quick hack to make them look exactly like chocolate chip cookies. And if you're serving them to little ones, I suggest kind of going this route. Kids eat with their eyes, especially kids that maybe aren't interested that beans are in this. So if you can make it look as close to the original as possible without question, they're not going to be like, I don't know, this tastes funny, you know?
Yeah.
So we just take you know, a dollop of it, and that would be the rustic cookie. You know,
Right.
you do 12 of them. But if you take a little bowl with water and you wet your finger, you can just like shape it into a smooth cookie. So this
Mm.
really takes just a couple seconds. But now when it bakes, it's going to look more like a regular cookie, and you could add those extra chocolate chips if you want on top.
Because they
But
don't
that's
rise, or they don't really take a shape when you cook them, correct?
yeah, they're going to rise a tiny bit, but it'll at least be smooth compared to this, which would be a little bit more spiky and a little bit more like homemade. I don't mind, they taste exactly the same. So it depends, you know, on your preference, but giving them to coworkers, family members, kids, I just recommend doing this extra 2-second step.
I like that tip.
And it only bakes in 15 minutes, 350, really quick. So we might even be able to throw these in and have them pop out at the end of the interview.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wish you were here.
Yeah, you can try them.
That's the hardest part about doing this virtually, is that, you know, you can't taste them after they're come out.
So while
I'll
you're
leave a couple rustic and a couple so you guys can see the difference.
okay,
Yeah.
while you're putting those on the pan, tell us a little bit about your upcoming arrangement with the school in California.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got contacted by a woman who follows us. And when she contacted me, it was right when I was finishing figuring out I was going to leave teaching. And I thought, how amazing to partner with a school and still do something with education, but the cooking side. So a woman who runs kind of the board of the directors of the school, reached out to me and said, hey, I have some funding. I've been trying to slowly incorporate more plant-based meals into these kids' breakfast and lunches and snacks. Would you be interested in making a USDA approved meal plan with recipes, all whole food plant-based? And I asked, you know, is there any like soy allergies? Is there any nut allergies? Because that comes up a lot in schools. And she said, nope, there's no allergies. Don't worry about it. Make everything whole food plant-based. All the parents have agreed to do this. And we're even going to have our staff get involved. So, I mean, how lucky for these, I think the ages around 2 to 5 that this school has to have a whole food plant-based total day of being at school and recipes for parents to go home with. I mean, it's like a dream school.
Right.
I've never heard of them before.
Right.
So I was so lucky to offer that to them.
So they actually, I would imagine, have the ability to cook on site then.
Yes.
A lot of schools nowadays don't have that. So it's a little more difficult to incorporate something like that.
Right. They have a chef there at the school, and then I believe that they'll cook and then send it out to the different 6 centers. Really amazing to be able to partner with the chef and work together even virtually, because they're in California and I'm in Pennsylvania, to kind of, you know, answer any questions that they have, to help with equipment that they might need, like a food processor and different things like that. So I was just really excited, like how open they were to learning, and even the staff and parents to be able to offer some virtual consultations of, you know, why this is important and the benefits that their kids are going to see from doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
So will you be doing education like that, talking about it to the parents, or how? Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So once the school gets in session, I think they're still in summer break right now. They will set up a time and we'll have them with staff and parents and offer that support that they need throughout, and hoping to work with them in the future more on it as they open up new centers and kind of expand. And they do a bunch of different programs as well, some different like Meals on Wheels and different things they offer their community. So I'm just excited to offer, you know, anything plant-based I can to them to help with that support.
Yeah, that sounds like a great program.
Thank you. It was really exciting when they reached out. It was like a dream.
Yeah.
That is. So, this coming school year in Illinois, there's this option now where parents, or if the child is old enough to ask for themselves, they can request a plant-based meal for lunch. And that's one of the things we're really working on, is to make sure
Yeah.
that that's a well-utilized option for people. Also in Illinois, however, there's not a whole lot of kitchens in the schools. There's not a whole lot in the school districts that are using that have the capacity to cook at all.
Great.
They're using heat and serve type stuff, or a speed scratch, they call it, where you're putting pre-made ingredients together
Right.
to make the final product. So yeah, I'll be very interested to hear how your experience goes. And
Yes.
we can do a webinar sometime
Love
about
that.
that. Yeah,
And
right.
I'm sure the woman who is my contact for the school would love to. That would be so cool to meet together and her experience too.
Yeah.
These guys are going to the ovens. These guys on the end are a little bit more rustic.
Nice.
Ones on are a little bit more traditional. So I'll just pop these in for 15 minutes real quick.
So how are your kids' eating habits? Do they tend to eat more fat, sugar, or salt than you would like or is recommended? Do they seem to prefer fast foods and processed convenient products over fruits and vegetables that you can prepare at home? Do you ever struggle to create healthy meals only to have them refuse to eat them? And worst of all, does your dinner table ever turn into a battleground? If you find yourself in these situations, faced with these questions, believe me, we feel you, and you're not alone.
Wouldn't it be great if you were part of an active, well-informed, supportive community, working to transform how we feed our kids so we can make a difference for them and for the planet as a whole? Well, you can. That community actually exists.
It's a thing already.
It's Plant-Based Nutrition Movement. That's what that is. Join us and get involved. Become a member. There's no cost to join. Also, check out our Facebook page and connect with other people just like you. Join the 6 Million Seeds Coalition, or launch a 6 Million Seeds project in your area. Contact us at 6mseeds@pbnm.org to get in touch or to learn more.
And yeah, they will be done in 15 minutes, and I'll send you guys the recipe so you can share.
That would be great.
Awesome.
Yeah, right. So I have a question for you. There's a surprise. What do you think that people get wrong about kids and transitioning their diet or feeding them healthier food?
I think this is anyone like making a change from what you're not used to, is that we tend to get stressed out and just kind of get in our own way. When I was transitioning, like my biggest thing was, instead of thinking about all the things that I can't have, or that, we're kind of no longer in my plan, just kind of expanding in all the new foods to try. So I think being kind of a growth mindset of being flexible, if your child does not like something, you move to something else, and kind of tweaking things as you go, really is important. And then to be also like very kind to yourself. Tend to get really hard on ourselves, beat ourselves up, and then kind of totally go off plan. And so each day it's a new opportunity to kind of tweak things, to figure out what works and what doesn't work, and grow from there. So that's kind of a loaded answer to your question, but
Right.
yeah, just take it one day at a time and do the best that you can. But kids are very malleable to trying new things. We tend to think of kids as kind of being picky eaters, but they're so curious. And so when you take them and cook with them and take them shopping and let them explore different things, they really can get excited about the food too.
Yeah, I like that tip, because I think, getting kids involved in the process,
Definitely.
Cooking or prepping or shopping or gardening or whatever.
And they're so proud of like, hey, I made this, and then they'll be more excited to keep learning. And then you're teaching them skills that last a lifetime.
Yeah. This is something that is obviously an issue now for the adults in the society. There's so many people that don't know how to cook.
Right.
We've gotten
Yeah.
so used to, going through a drive-through, stop at a restaurant, pick it up. It's in the grocery store in the frozen section. I just, put it in the oven or the microwave, heat it up, eat it, and this is one of the things I hear over and over again about, when people say, yeah, I've got diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease. Yep. And when we start talking about one of the ways to manage that, a very effective way, is changing what you eat. The first thing they say is, well, I don't cook.
Yeah.
That's not my thing.
Yeah.
It really is it sort of, I want to say, cripples the person in a way. It hobbles a person if you don't know how to cook. So teaching kids that life skill early on, huge bonus.
Definitely. And then they'll enjoy it. And also, I always tell people too, is that, you have to make time to do it because it's important, and then seeing the benefits. So, just like we make time to do important things in our life, looking at cooking and sitting down for a meal is so beneficial long-term for your kid's life and for yours. And so we really change our mindset of like, I just don't have time. You have to make time.
Right.
Really can be huge in your health and your kids' health and happiness, and just that quality time together. You can view it as an activity. If you are cooking by yourself, I view it as being very meditative. It's like an active meditation a little bit. You kind of get lost because you're actively doing things. And so, it really can become a joy to get in the kitchen and cook.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally
Yeah.
agree.
All right. Well, so I have another question going back to food in schools. So when parents are thinking about sending food with their kids for lunch or snacks, I'm sure it can be overwhelming to figure out, especially if they don't normally eat plant-based, how to incorporate more fruits, vegetables, plants in general into their kids' food. Do you have any, I want to say, either tips or recipes? Or I know you have so many different recipes on your channel, so I'm sure you have examples of things that maybe parents could incorporate into their kids' lunches or snacks. But what are some good examples that you can give?
Yeah, so I kind of with that growth mindset again, talking about not overcomplicating things and thinking about things kind of being like so different. We just make tweaks to meals that we love before being plant-based. So like spaghetti and meatballs then become spaghetti, and we make meatballs with beans, and they have the same flavors. There's Italian seasoning, there's breadcrumbs, there's all the things that you love with sauce and everything. But that's plant-based. And so anything like that, instead of chicken nuggets, we make chickpea nuggets. And so you can make things that even look very similar to the original. So when your kids go to school, they don't necessarily stand out. It's not broccoli sprouts or anything kind of odd that a kid's like, what are you eating? And that makes them kind of excited and feel like they're not the oddball out, and they're still getting tons of nutrition. So I tend to think of things kind of like that. There's always like a plant-based version of things that you love. And so that really can help, packing lunches, being creative, thinking about what your kids enjoy.
Yeah, I like that, because I think kids are more likely to eat those types of foods if, like you said, they're not feeling like they're the outsider at school and their lunch doesn't look so different. If it looks similar to everyone else's, then maybe some other kids would be interested in what that your child has, and that would snowball from there, and they might be interested in trying it. So yeah, I think it's helpful for the kid not to feel like their lunch is so different than everyone else's.
Right. And I mean, nowadays I feel like too, with the allergies and different, people being gluten-free and different things like that, it's a lot more relaxed than when I was in school, with people having different types of food too. I think now, I've seen a couple kids at school that brought tofu and different things like that. And, it's not necessarily like, what's tofu? Some kids are very familiar with it now. So it is a different kind of society and changing all the time. And I feel like it's a good place to raise a kid whole food plant-based nowadays versus 20 years ago, when you definitely were going to be the only one.
Right. For sure.
There's definitely, I would say, many more options that are already available, or recipes that are available that parents can try.
Right. And it's trendy. Now you can, it's a thing on the front of a package that it's plant-based, so it's not so foreign.
No one's going to say anything about plant milk because most of everyone has tried it now. And
that's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. So I have a question. In your experience at schools, we talked a little bit before about how the classroom teacher can influence what the children eat. What do you see of school environments in the settings where you were? Was there a lot of just
there's a lot of junk?
Yeah, not even beyond the school lunch program, right? There's the rest of it.
Yeah.
Yes, a lot of teachers will use candy as motivators, which is unfortunate. And I know like our secretary at our school, when I taught closer to Pittsburgh, had lollipops and different things that every time you popped into the secretary or you took a note to the principal, it was like, oh, grab some. And, and pizza parties and different cupcakes. And then when you get to holidays, it's like, forget it. It's no hope for kids kind of calming down after the sugar rush. So that part is very trying, if you are trying to raise your kid healthy, and there's all these obstacles. But I do think like talking to your kids and explaining to them kind of like the why is really helpful. Like, what sugar does, or, this makes me feel not so great because I had this. I wish I kind of have the mindset of I want to know the why. And so as a kid, if someone would have told me like, yeah, you did this and this had this reaction, I would have been like, oh, okay, like that makes sense. So I think talking to kids, just like you would talk to anyone about it, is really important, so that they understand why they might not choose those different things as well. But yeah, I mean, and then if you have a school party, make your version enough for everyone to share. And again, go back to kind of like make the chocolate chip cookies and bring them in and let people know that they're allergy friendly and plant-based, but they look exactly the same as the original. So yeah.
If you were looking to make a difference in a school environment outside of the lunch and breakfast programs, which are controlled by the USDA, right? If you wanted to try and encourage or give a parent like a game plan for how to make the difference with the rest of the school lunch environment, all that stuff you just described, what do you think you would tell them to do, like first and second, let's say?
Yeah, so clubs are great. Most schools have clubs that you can start, and teachers usually facilitate them, or even parents interested. So I helped run the cooking club at our school, and that was when I was doing it virtually. So we would get on kind of like a call like this, and the kids would pick and make stuff virtually, and we give out a recipe. And that was really a nice way to kind of get kids involved in maybe foods they hadn't tried. So like dates are something that most kids that aren't plant-based don't really know about. And so kind of exposing them to different things like that can cause them to ask questions and be excited when they go to the grocery store and see those things. And then besides that, you also can offer adult classes for other parents that might be interested in like the benefits of having refined sugar-free meals and going that aspect. So I think any kind of educational something you can do with the students or potential faculty or parents really can make a huge impact. And you never know, how that might kind of build in your community.
Yeah, good. That's one of the major questions we get, is how do you work within a school to try and make the environment healthier in general? And when you're saying that teachers or the school secretary has always got candies and they're giving candies out as rewards and incentives and things like that, that's one of my recommendations, is try going directly to the teacher.
Oh yeah, you can definitely let them know. Some people don't even understand, they don't think there's anything wrong, or it might have not come up that like, they might just chalk it up to, oh, they had recess and they're all wound up from recess after, or it's, it's just the holidays that all the kids are kind of can't wait till school's out. And really, if people would step back and see, how they're acting after lunch versus before, or how are they after we just had that big school party, I think really there's a connection, obviously, with food
Mhm.
that people overlook all the time.
Yeah.
What did you see? Give us do you have any stories you could tell us
Yeah.
just about?
Oh, that kindergarten, when I was in that kindergarten class, I probably could tell you a whole bunch because I had the whole day with them. So really it was like, they'd come in really tired and it would be a big motivator to like, okay, wake up, kind of slow to get started. And then it would be, they'd be good for a while doing math and reading and different things. And then, after lunch, it was the big like hyper, spike. They would have lunch, they'd have a little bit of playtime or recess, and then it would be like an hour to kind of bring them back down to refocusing,
Mm,
which, I definitely attribute to what they were eating and that blood sugar kind of spike and fall. And then at the end, again, it's that sleepiness of, okay, I'm done, can't do anything else. So really, it was just an up and down wave. And that went in and day out and actually got so much worse. The month of December was just like, because, how much stuff they're eating at home, and same around Halloween. You kind of could tell like more treats, more stuff. It definitely was more of hyperactive students for sure, with just, all over the place.
right, right. I always count that as the feasting season that starts like
Yes.
Halloween.
Yeah, and lasts all the way through the year.
Well, all the way through February.
Yeah, true.
Valentine's Day is kind of where because then you get Easter and there's all of that,
Yeah.
It's like the feasting season. Poor kids,
So you were an art teacher. Did you ever have opportunities to incorporate like art and food together, and how did that go?
We did a couple of projects where it was like printmaking with vegetables, so that was kind of cool to do that. That was probably the extent of it, but I always try to just any healthy living in general. So I always try to do like stress relief techniques into them, especially after like the class I would see after lunch. They'd be like, okay, we need like something to kind of like calm everyone down. And so different techniques with clay and even like helping kids with anxiety is so prevalent in schools and kids now. So teaching different stress relief with that, with even coloring for little ones that they can focus on. So I really enjoyed that part of it. And I also ran the art club at the school. I was very busy in our school to try to implicate, the stress relief part, because we're talking about food and then stress relief, and also, making sure they get good sleep and exercise, and all those things are important.
Yeah. Nice.
So you are on the board of the National Health Association. Yeah. So you may have gotten, like Brittany just said, she's busy. She's not sitting around doing nothing. Yeah, right. She's go all the time.
Yeah.
One of her roles is that she's on the board of directors for the National Health Association. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do with them?
Yeah, so I'm on the board. So I help with the conferences, we help plan the conferences, but I also help volunteer in the kids program that we have at the conference. So anyone who comes can bring their child, and there's a separate program for them where they do all sorts of activities, from yoga to art projects to cooking demos to swimming and hiking and tons of stuff. So I help with the art and the cooking, and so we always do a really fun art project. I did face painting the last couple of years, which has been really fun. And also we do lots of cooking demos. So we do nice creams, and we made dirt pudding cups this year with sweet potato chocolate pudding. And again, kind of that same thing that maybe we remember of the dirt cups with the gummy worms. We made a whole food plant-based version of that, which was really fun. We did slushies. So just really having fun with the group. And so while the parents are learning about education, their kids are actively doing some things also that are fun and spark that interest, because not all of the kids come necessarily are 100% whole food plant-based. Parents might just be interested. So it's really fun to kind of show them how fun this lifestyle can be in a variety of different ways.
Yeah.
I want to know, what did you use instead of the gummy worms?
Yeah, really.
And the dirt cups?
Yeah, so we got a gummy worm silicone. You can buy them like molds. And we used agar powder and like a fruit juice, that kind of fruit that you squeezed out to a juice and strain. with a couple like lemon juice and different things. We made raspberry ones, and you just let it set and they will become like gummy worms. And so it's not like going to be stretchy like the gummy worms maybe that we're used to getting, but still the same shape, lots of flavor. I mean, kids just love seeing like the worm shape in their pudding cups. So that was really fun.
Yeah,
That's cool.
nice. Really good.
That's a great idea.
These came out and they're hot, but again, the rustic ones look a little bit more rustic, and those are the ones I kind of softened and they're a little bit more like cookie shape. We'll let them cool for a minute and then I'll hold it up closer.
Perfect.
They
Yeah.
smell really good. I wish you guys could smell them. And they come out like such a nice like
Nice.
golden brown on the
Right.
bottom.
Nice. Yeah. They look good. I wish I could
Yeah.
taste it.
Right. Now I
I
have
was telling my husband,
chocolate
this
chip
is what-
cookie.
I was telling my husband this is what we were doing today. He's like, "What are you demoing so I can have later?" And I was like,
Yeah.
Well, now I have to go make more chocolate chip cookies.
"Oh,
Man.
great."
What types of other cookie recipes have you tried instead of chocolate chip? Any good ones that you
Yeah. So we have a banana bread cookie recipe. So if you love banana bread, it's pretty much just, similar to this in cookie form. That's great. Especially I feel like for me, I like to have, just something easy to kind of grab. So we have a banana bread one. We have, we actually do a whole class on just cookies in December every year. So I've pretty much made every cookie you can think of. We have a great like sugar cookie that doesn't have refined sugar in it, that you can do like gingerbread shapes and all of that for Christmas. Trying to think, we've done like so many. We've done like chocolate cookies. We've done even ones that you can put like a little thumb kiss, ones that you might have had before, like a peanut butter blossom cookie. So really, if you think it, you probably can do it whole food plant-based.
Nice.
So how does the rest of your family take to this? Do you get any kind of pushback from like either your aunts, your cousins, your nieces, nephews, any of that? Does anybody just say, ew,
Yeah.
we don't do that?
No one says ew. I think people are just like, that's cool that you do it, but I'm still going to do my thing. And every once in a while, like when we bring something, I'll get like, oh, this isn't really that sweet, or like this is really dense, because people sometimes aren't used to eating, this way. But I always make enough to share. And I'm very lucky my husband does this with me. So that makes it really easy at home. And when we have kids, it'll be an easier transition than having a house divided. And so, yeah, we just kind of do our own thing. We always bring food to share. My niece is just found out I have a YouTube channel. So she's like really into all of the things I have on YouTube, and tracks like, oh, what are you doing this week? So I'm hoping to do a video with her, she's like around 10. And so that'll be fun just to kind of share this aspect with her. But yeah, we always bring something delicious. So this one's more rustic looking. That one's more like the traditional.
I can
Nice.
definitely see the difference, and I can see how kids maybe would prefer the familiar looking one.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, when you're in a pinch, this is generally how we make it when we're just on the go, but it's worth it just to flatten them out a little.
right.
Yeah.
Really good. They look delicious.
They do.
Thank you.
You know what, do me a favor, break one open for me, please. Yeah, that one. That's great.
Yum.
Yep. Nice.
And so you can add a lot of chocolate chips, and then it can be really gooey if you wanted it to be that way, but they just fluff up so nice.
Mhm.
Nice.
And they're light and airy. They pack well. You can freeze them if you are busy and you want to freeze it. We've even frozen just the batter,
Mhm.
and then you can make batches, or you can roll them into balls and freeze them, just to kind of, I feel like before I was whole food plant-based, that was such a thing, like to have cookies like ready to go if you just wanted one. So you can do that with this, it's all the same.
Yeah,
Nice.
really good. Really good. Well, I think we only had a couple more questions. One was about what kind of work you're doing with Ethos Farm.
Yeah, so similar to the NHA conference, I feel like my name's getting around that, like, oh, she does all the kids stuff. Where I'm helping run their kids program. So we're going to have nice cream stations for kids and adults. So for the kids, we're going to kind of do like a sundae station where they can have all their toppings. And then we'll make like a vanilla ice cream with bananas in our Vitamix. And then I'm also going to do one for the parents, and the parents, we're going to have one that's like kind of like Sundays, banana split Sundays. And so we'll have 3 different flavors with banana. So that's really fun. And then we're also doing art projects with the kids too. And that's just a great, day on the farm, showing different aspects of, fresh vegetables as well for them to look at.
Nice, right?
So I was going to say, so where can our viewers go to find out more about like your recipes and your membership and all of the fun stuff that you do?
Yeah, so you can just go to Google. I always tell people just go to Google and type in Jaroudi Family. And even if you're looking for a specific something like chickpea nuggets or lasagna or anything that you can pretty much think of, put in with my name and it'll pop right up. And we have a website, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, pretty much anywhere you can think of.
Nice.
Well,
We'll be sure to put some of those links in the show notes so people can check
Right.
them out. Yeah.
The spelling of your last name is not typical, so we'll make sure we get that as well. If people are trying to do it phonetically, Jaroudi, I don't know what that sounds like, or of course how to spell, but we'll make sure we get that in there.
Yeah.
That's good.
Totally. Well, thank you so
Yes.
much, Brittany. I am like really wishing I could have some of those cookies. I'm so sorry you're all the way in Pittsburgh.
I know, me too.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad that we finally got this interview done and we were able to make it work.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
Yeah, thanks so
Yeah.
much. Yeah, and congratulations on everything you are up to.
Yes.
This is
Thank you.
amazing. Thanks for doing so much for the kids. You are, perfectly positioned to do what you're doing. So rock on, girl.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right,
All
is
right,
that it?
That's it.
I think that's it. All right, Brittany Jaroudi, we'll check with you soon and
Okay.
see you next time.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.